All right, hey class, I am going to go over Chapter 8's PowerPoint. As I pull this up, um, in this chapter we're going to talk about VLOOKUPs, which stands for vertical lookup. There's also an H lookup, which stands for horizontal lookup, and we'll get to that here in a second. We'll learn about choose functions. So those are the two main functions in Chapter 8, would be a choose and a VLOOKUP. That tends to give students the most trouble. And I'll show you a couple tips of the trade that will help you through some of the practices and exercises. And we'll do one exercise together that I would recommend that you guys do as I go through this video. That'll be later on. So let's just get through this PowerPoint here first. The one thing that you need to know is that in Excel, dates are values. It's a number. And so even though we see, February 3rd, 2011, it's a number. And so therefore we can use that number to calculate things. We can calculate 90 days. You can see right here we have B6 plus 80 days, or 180 days, and it's going to come up with the due date for a book. That's one example. You can also do time. Okay, you can see that you can figure out how long things were. Maybe you'd be, if I go back a slide, maybe you'd be keeping track of your hours for a job, or maybe you're an employer keeping track of hours. You can definitely keep track of time. You can create tables and you can sort things. I'll show you how to do that later on. You can actually get through and sort it out. In fact, the next slide might have it. If you click on this arrow, and a lot of the exercise is going to have you sort by a value. In fact, one of them is dependence, and so it wants only two dependents. And so you'd click on this arrow, and you'd have, depending on what the value is, down here farther, you could sort, just by category, not just largest to smallest. Well, right here is a great example. You can select events, marketing, sales, security. One of the assignments will be dependent, so you would uncheck all of them and check the only one you want to display. Again, a lot of other options for tables. We won't get into that in great detail, so I'll just keep moving here. You can total up rows. That's an example. This one's a data validation. This is unique because you can control what is put in a particular cell. For an example, one of the assignments you have to do will have you create a list, 1, 2, and 3. From there, you would click on this Allow drop down, and from there, you will be able to.
Oh, can I borrow your adapter cord really quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That was Emily Cook, guys, so you can tell her, you can thank her for interrupting the video. So as we go through this, again, you can click on the drop-down arrow, and you can select what you want to be allowed. In this case, you'd select list. Even though it says a drop-down list, you would select just list. A lot of students will look for the word drop-down list, and it's not there. So in this case, it's a list, and then it's going to ask you for what you want the list to have. It's separated by commas. Here it can be any value. You can put between certain values, so you can do 1 through 10. So if someone put in 11, maybe you're going to rank something. You put 1 through 10, and someone gave it 11, it won't allow them, and it has to be 1 through 10. So that's kind of nice. Pivot tables is another thing that gives students problems. Again, you would just go to Insert Pivot Table. From here, students don't know what to do. They get lost. On a test, I don't know how many questions I've tried or they've asked that I can't help on test, is they don't know what to do when they get to a page that looks like this right here. All you have to do is select what you want to include in the pivot table. In this case, they're going to select region and quota, and you can see it only has region and sum of quota. But even though the chart itself or the table itself on a different sheet would have city, region, sales, and quota, in this case, it was just the region and just the sum of quota. But that's a pivot table. It opens up on a new sheet. Okay, this is a choose function. Okay, a choose function. It starts out like any other function with an equal sign, choose. This first one, B5, is what you're going to reference. Okay, in this case, if you follow this B5, it's 2. So what this says is we're going to select option 2. So we go back up to the formula. This is what we're looking at. This is option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. In this case, option 2 was 2000, therefore 2000 is displayed. Go back, I don't know what happened. 2000 is displayed in option 2. So again, this will throw off kids because the next formula is a VLOOKUP, and so that one has a table, and a choose function and a VLOOKUP both have tables, but one of them needs it to reference and the other one doesn't. And choose function does not need a table. Everything's stored in the choose function itself. Okay. Another common thing when students create the choose function is they don't know what to look at. They always want to look at something other than the 1, 2, or 3. When you are creating a choose function, you need to reference, and this is this B5, you can see here, you need to reference, you almost always whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, or 4, so you can look anywhere on the Excel sheet itself and see where 1, 2, 3, and 4 is at. Okay, so we'll have more examples of that later on. If it's not clear, definitely come in and ask. One of the review questions asks how many options can you have? Well, it's 254. Why they came up with 254, I don't know. You can see here we only have 4, but you could go out 254 different ratings. I don't know how you could keep them all separate, but that's what you can do. You can also include words. So you can look at your rating in B5, and you can have the first one be outstanding. Again, you have to have the quotes just like you did in the if formula. And so what it's going to say is put everything between the 2 quotes, and therefore it's the words outstanding. If you wanted to say nothing, you would just put 2 quotes with nothing in between, and nothing would show up for that particular rating. So again, 2 is 2 must be outstanding. This is weird because 1 is... Oh, there we go. I was confused. 1 is outstanding, 2 is excellent, 3 is good, and 4 is satisfactory. It was confusing myself. Okay, you can name a box. This is kind of cool. And for VLOOKUPs, for that function, you almost always want to name a box. We'll get into that here in just a second for VLOOKUPs. But for test 1, you can highlight B3 through B8. That's what they have highlighted. And up here in the name box, it's going to say B3. Okay? Well, what you do instead is you just delete B3 and type in what you want to name the box. In this case, it's test 1. I will upload 2 videos. I got to answer this phone call here, and I will continue later on.